We continue now at the top of Daf Tazayin Amud Beis in Meseches Sotah. This is Sotah Daf 16b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara is discussing the halacha that the Kohen takes offer dirt and puts it into the Sotah, puts it into the waters of the Sotah. And the Gemara asked, could afer be used instead? Could ashes be used instead? And the Gemara brings a proof from a statement of Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Yishmael that there are three cases where the halacha supersedes the straightforward meaning of the psukim. And so the Gemara said if it was true that afer could be used instead of offer, so then that should be a fourth case where the halacha supersedes the straightforward meaning of the psukim. And so that seems to indicate that afer cannot be used. And the Gemara said it's not necessarily a proof because there are other cases that are left out of this list. And the Gemara brings an example from Mitzorah, because in Mitzorah, if you darshan klalu pratu klal, so then it turns out that the Mitzorah doesn't have to shave all of the hair of his body. But the halacha is, from the Mishnah, the halacha is that the Mitzorah does shave all of the hair of his body. And so the Gemara offered a few answers to that question. And the Gemara says, and the Gemara now is in the middle of the answer of Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi says the case of Mitzorah is not left out, because the halacha that the Mitzorah does not shave all of the hair of the body, that follows Rabbi Yishmael, who darshans klalu pradu klal. And the earlier statement as well was Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Yishmael. And that's why this case of Mitzorah wasn't listed, because it's not really left out. And the Mishnah, which says that the Mitzorah shaves all of the hair of his body, kedalas, that he shaves all of the hair of his body like a gourd, that's a different Tana. Money, who is that? That's Rabbi Akiva. That follows Rabbi Akiva's shita. The darish ribuyum umiyut, because Rabbi Akiva, he darshans ribuyu miyut. He doesn't darshan with the methodology of klalu prat. The Tanya, as we learned in a brayso of Hoya by Amashri Yigalach, is called Sa'aro Riba. It says that he shaves all of the hair of his body. That's a Riba. In other words, again, not a cloud, but it's a Riba. It's an inclusion. As Rosho, as Zakono, as Gabos Ein of Miet. Then it says particular parts of the body, Rosho, Zakono, and Gabos Ein of. That's an exclusion. As Kol Saro Yigaleach, and then it says as Kol Saro, he shaves all of his hair. Chazar Riba, that's again an inclusion. Riba umiyet v'riba riba hakol. When you have a riba miyet v'riboy, so then it's considered to include everything. My riba dechule gufe. What are we including? So the riboy is that we're including his entire body. Again, that's Rabbi Akiva shita. Umay miyet, and what's being excluded? So miyet seir shebesoch hachotim. The only thing that we're excluding is the hair that's inside of the nose. Otherwise, all hair is included. So again, according to this answer of Rav Ashi, it's actually a machlokas tanoim. It's a machlokas between Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva whether the Mitzorah actually does shave all of the hair of his body, and so therefore that was not left off of the list of cases where the halacha supersedes the straightforward meaning of the psukim. And so if that was not left off, so you cannot say that the case of afer offer by Sotah was left off also, and therefore this would be a proof, according to this approach, this would be a proof that afer cannot be used. And so the Gemara continues, my have Allah, what is the halacha, can afer be used or not? And the Gemara says, Tashma, come in here, the following proof. The Amar Ravuna Barashi Amar Rav, because Ravuna Barashi said that Rav said, Ein sham offer, if there's no offer present, if there's no dirt, so maybe rakavuvis yerek mekadesh, the Kohen can then bring a decomposed vegetable and use that to sanctify the water, and so that should be a proof just like rakavuvis yerek is okay, afer should also be okay. But the Gemara says, Veloi, it's not true. It's not a proof for Akavuvis, Yereku Dahavoy Offer. It could be that a decomposed vegetable, that is considered dirt. That's considered offer. But Afer lo have offer. But it could be that Afer ashes are not considered offer. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Kadesha Yeru al Amayim, that the dirt that's in the Sotah water needs to be visible. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Shloshat Tzrichin Sheyeru, there are three cases where it needs to be visible, where the item needs to be visible. Offer Sotah, again, the dirt that's in the Sotah water. The Afer Para, and the ashes of the Para Aduma, that's the ashes that are put in the Mechatos, the purification waters. And Verok Yavama, also the spit by Yavama, by the Chalitza procedure, the spit needs to be visible as well. Mishum Rabbi Yishmael Lamru, in the name of Rabbi Yishmael, they said Af Dam Tzipor, so too the blood of the tzipor. That's talking about when they are dipping the items in the blood of the bird and also in the water by the purification process of the Mitzorah. And the Gemara says, my time with Rabbi Yishmael. What's the reason of Rabbi Yishmael? From where does he know that the blood of the bird has to be visible in the water? Because it's written in the pasuk, V'tav alosam, he dips these items, Bedam hatzipor v'gomer, it says he dips it in the blood of the bird. V'tanya, we learned in a brayso, Bedam, it says in the blood, Yachol bedam v'lo b'mayim. I might think you dip it in the blood and not in water. Talmud lomer b'mayim, the pasuk says he has to dip it in the water. Imayim yachol b'mayim v'lo bedam. If it only said mayim, I might think only in the water and not in the blood. Talmud lomer bedam, so the pasuk says in the blood. HaKetzad, so how so? The answer is maybe mayim shadam tzipor nikor behen. He has to have water where the blood of the bird is visible in the water. That's how we understand that the blood has to be visible. V'kam, and how much water is it? Revius, it's a quarter of a lug. And so the Gemara says v'Rabbanan, but what about according to the Rabbanan who disagree with Rabbi Yishmael? What do they do with these psukim? Because they say the blood does not have to be visible. And so the Gemara explains simply, Ahu lagufe, that just comes for the simple meaning of the pasuk itself. According to the Rabbanan, the pasuk is simply saying as follows: Atvil bedam uvemayim, that these items have to be dipped in both blood and water, but it does not mean that the blood actually has to be visible in the water. Rabbi Yishmael says, if that was the case, lichtov rachmana v'taval bohem, it could have just said he dips it in them. Bedamu v'mayim lomali, why does it have to specify blood and water? L'nikr, it's to tell you that it has to be visible. But the Rabbanan respond to that, ikosav rachmana v'taval bohem, if it only said bohem in them, so havamina, hay l'chudei, I would have thought that he dips it, they could be separate. The blood and the water don't need to be mixed. The blood can be separate, and the water can be separate. He dips it in both. Kosav rachmana v'damu v'mayim la'arvan. That's why the pasuk says in the blood and the water means to say that they have to be mixed together. Rabbi Yishmael responds to that, la'arvan krachrina. For mixing it together, there's another krachrina ksiv. There's another pasuk that's written where it says v'shachar asat tzipor echas v'gomer. It says that he shechs the tzipor into the water. It's clear that the blood is going into the water. But the Rabbanan respond to that, if I only had that pasuk, I would have thought, no, maybe it just means you shech the bird near the vessel, but then you hold the veins of the bird, you don't let the blood out, and you receive the blood in a different vessel. That's how I might have read the pasuk. Kamash Malon, again, so that's what the pasuk is teaching, that it has to be mixed together. And the Gemara continues, Boy minei Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Zeir, Rabbi Yirmiyah asked Rabbi Zeir the following question, Gidolu madachas asamayim. Let's say the bird is very large and there's so much blood that it's like there's no more water anymore. Or the other way around, Kitana, let's say the bird is so small, V'nidchas mivnei hamayim, there's so much water that it overpowers the amount of blood. It's as if there's no blood. Ma'u, what would be the halach in these cases? Amar lei, so he said back to him, Lava aminalach, didn't I tell you, haven't I told you before? Lo tapik nafshach levar mihilcha, so don't take yourself outside of the halacha, meaning don't have second thoughts on the halacha. But tzipor duror shiru rabbanon, because the rabbanon understand that we're talking specifically about a sparrow, and ein lach gedola shemadeches atzamayim, there's no sparrow that's large enough that the amount of blood is going to overshadow the water. Ve'ein lach katana shenidchas mimnei hamayim, and there's no sparrow that's so small that the water is going to overshadow the blood, so it's not a practical question. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Hiktim offer lamayim, let's say by Sotah, the Kohen puts the dirt in before the water, so the Tanakama says puzzle, the Tanakama says that's puzzle, it's disqualified. Rabbi Shimon machshir, Rabbi Shimon says it's fine, it's kosher. And the Gemara says, my time with Rabbi Shimon. What's the reason of Rabbi Shimon that it doesn't matter what order it is? It doesn't matter if the dirt comes first or the water comes first. Tichsiv, because it's written, and this is by Para Aduma, it says, V'lochu la'tameh me'afar sreifas ha'chatos. It says they take for the tameh from the dirt of the burnt chatos. V'tanyan, we learned in a brayso, Amar Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says, V'chiyafaru, are you using dirt over here by the Para Aduma? It's not dirt that's used. V'alo eferu, it's the ashes of the Para Aduma that are used. And so why does it say offer? So the Gemara says, the Brisa says, Shina hakasa b'mashmo, the pasuk changes in terms of its language, Lodun heimenu gezerah shaveh, to learn the following gezerah shaveh, Nemar kan offer, it says over here offer, V'nemar lahalan offer, and it says over there offer, it says by Sotah offer as well. Ma lahalan, just like over there by the Mesotah, offer al gabi mayim, it's the dirt that goes on top of the water. Afkan Sotah over here by the Mechatos, offer al gabi mayim, it's the dirt or the ashes that go on top of the water. Umakan, but just like over here by the ashes of the Para Aduma, hiktim offer lamayim kosher. If the dirt was placed before the water, it's kosher. So af lahalan Sotah over there by Sotah, hiktim offer lamayim kosher. If the dirt was placed before the water, it's still going to be kosher. And the Gemara continues, V'hasam and Nolan, and over there, how does Rabbi Shimon know that the order does not matter by Para Aduma? And the Gemara explains, Trei kroi ksivi, because there are two psukim that are written. Ksiv olav, it says on it. Alma efer beresha, that sounds like the efer comes first. That sounds like the ashes are first. Uchsiv mayim chayim el keli, but the pasuk also says that the spring water goes into the vessel. Alma mayim beresha, it sounds like the water goes first. And so hakeitzad, how so? Rotza zen nosein, rotza zen nosein. We understand by Para Aduma that it doesn't matter. If he wants, then the water can go first, and if he wants, the ashes can go first. And again, according to Rabbi Shimon, Sotah is the same thing as by the Para Aduma. For Rabbanan, but the Rabbanan say al keli dafka. When it says al keli, that's specific. It means to say the water has to go first. That's talking about by Para Aduma, and again also by Sotah. And olav, what does olav teach by Para Aduma? La'arvan, that teaches that it has to be mixed together, meaning when you put the ashes in there, you then have to mix them into the water. But the Gemara says, why not say the other way according to the Rabbanan? Ve'ema olav dafka. Why not say that olav is dafka, meaning to say the other way around, that the afer comes first? And el kalim, when it says el kali shetei chiyusun bekli, that just means that the spring water has to go directly into this vessel. It can't go in another vessel in between. You can't take it from the spring to a vessel and then to this vessel that's used for the para aduma. But the Gemara says, no, we don't understand that way, because ma'am matzino b'chol makam, what do we find everywhere? We always find machshir lamala, that the item that's being machshir, that's preparing the water, that goes on top. That's what we find in other contexts as well. So afkan, so too over here, when it comes to para aduma, machshir lamala, the machshir goes on top, meaning to say the water goes in first, and then the ashes go on top. And Rashi says, "Ma matzino b'chol makom b'sotah." What do we find everywhere? For example, by Sotah, machshir lamalo offer hu machshir. The dirt, that's the machshir. As hamayim, it's machshir the water. Livdo kosa v'chein dam tzipor shel mitzorah. We find the same thing by the blood of the bird by mitzorah. Shemachshir hamayim lahazah. It's machshir the water. Afkan Sotah over here offer machshir hamayim. The offer is the machshir of the water, and it goes on top according to the Rabbanan. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph.